Welcome, everybody, to the Reckoning Brothers Afternoon Tea podcast. I am Scott. I am here with. I think I want to use a quieter voice when we do this, and with Mark, just just a very NPR
That is very
voice. I'm
NPR
sitting
right
here
there.
with our regular producer, Josh. Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I am enjoying our future sponsor, Barry's Irish Breakfast Tea. It's truly a delightful tea. It's not too strong. It's got just a slight acidic aftertaste. It's not too overpowering. I've been really enjoying it for years now. Barry's Irish Breakfast Tea, please sponsor us. Josh,
I have a quick story about berries, by the way.
go for it.
Okay, so wife was sick and she didn't want any coffee, so she got into the berries and she drank 3 cups of berries because she didn't want
3 cups in one day.
She didn't want any caffeine. I'm like, pretty
Wrong.
caffeinated.
Yeah, black tea is very much caffeinated.
Yeah.
It's got about, I think, 1/3 of the caffeine of a regular cup of coffee.
Yeah. So
In case you were wondering.
I didn't know how much it had in it, but she drank it. She liked it.
If she had 3 cups, that means you like it. So that is a ringing endorsement.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Josh, what are we going to talk about today?
We are talking about the economy.
Nice, simple, light, easy to research subject.
Easy topic, yeah. So I think our defining subject line was what makes a good economy. Is it perspective based? Is it statistic based? So what you got to say, Scott?
Yeah, so I kind of thought of it in 2 ways. You've got the macro economy, the Ivy League tower type academic view of the economy, and then you got Joe Sixpack doesn't want to pay a lot for eggs. And how do we, how do we mesh those together in something that makes sense for average schmucks like us that just want to be like, what the fuck? What is the economy? What's going on? What is all this? And so I started some research on it. And I don't know how you like to do this. When I want to research something, I go to my good friend Claude and I type into Claude. I say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Can you give me an idea of individual experts that would be good to follow? I get the list. I ask Claude follow-up questions. No, go ahead. Yes, I see Josh, your hand is raised.
Claude's your AI?
Claude's my AI of choice, made by Anthropic. Yeah, okay. I'm a big fan of Anthropic and their CEO. I've seen an interview with him. He's a very impressive guy. So I do all this with Claude, get the list. Then I go into YouTube and watch video interviews of 2 to 3, sometimes 4 of these people. For me, I want to see them talk, right? I don't know these people from Adam. I want to get the judgment of the character before I do further research. I take notes on the interview, and then I go do further research based upon that note. And by that time, I've spent enough time on these subjects. I don't have any more time. I don't know how you feel about that, Josh. Do you have a approach you like to take?
Mine's a co-pilot. So if we're seeking sponsorship, Microsoft.
First of all, I don't think we have room for 2 sponsors, and I will fight you to the death over the Barry's Irish Breakfast Tea sponsor. But you use AI, break it down from that kind of. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about it when I was doing the research, and I was like, I wonder if Josh or anybody else does it this way. I like the idea of watching an interview, engaging a person, so I know, am I dealing with an honest actor here, or am I dealing with a bullshit artist? It's a good way, I think, to throw it out. But anyway, sorry, Josh. That's kind of what I focused on when I was looking into this. No, that's interesting, man, because everything's going poorly. I mean, inflation never stops, but you can put the brakes on it. It doesn't look like that's been happening for the past few years. This is economics is an interesting, boring subject, right? I think it's the way I like to look at it. So what I did, as previously mentioned, one of the experts that I found was Rana Foroohar. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She is associate editor for the Financial Times and also CNN's global economic analyst. And what I liked about her in the interview is she just came across as an economist, maybe politically farther to the left than one might like, a little bit more pro Chinese than one might instinctively like, but seems to be a very smart person for my layman ass. She is a big fan of looking at economics differently than the classical model, right? So she thinks that when we look at the whole economy, we need to take a look at more of people's lives. We need to look at like environmental effects that are caused by things. We need to, instead of just like the dollar value in the stock market, we need to look at everything and value our economy that way. And even things like environmental effects. I know whenever I say like environment, people are just like, oh, da da da, climate change, da 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 da. No, 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 that's not necessarily what she's talking about. If you live in a city that is polluted like Shanghai and it affects people's health, that's not really an up for debate thing. If you live in a city that is on the coast where the people rely on fishing, right? And that area is overfished, that is an environmental effect that has a very direct and very easy to map effect, right? So these things need to be taken in. She complains that when we're looking at how well an economy is, we're looking at things like what comes off of a factory floor line, right? And that's what we're measuring. Like we've got the S&P 500, right? The 500 companies that we measure their productivity, and that's basically how we determine our economy, right? But it's just not all encompassing. There's
GDP statistics on that, right?
what's that?
GDP, gross domestic product. That's what we're shipping out.
Yeah, yeah. But keep in mind, I'm a layman, and this was complicated, and I had to relook this stuff up many times. But yeah, the her claim, at least, is that we have this separation here. We've got the financial market, right? So over the past 40 years, for instance, she states that the size of our financial market has been increasing while financial growth is slowing in the real economy. So you've got this separation. So what's happening is that we've got this whole financial sector for the economy. Okay, so this is just the banks, the hedge funds, investments, money, financial sector shit, right? As that's getting bigger, she's saying it's sucking up the oxygen from this real economy, real normal people working real jobs, right? And I think an example of this is like, remember the 2008 financial crisis? You ever see that movie, The Big Short? Remember that? It was a really good movie, and that's probably the best example I can think of as a way to make economics accessible. There was a part where who's that famous celebrity chef who unfortunately unalived himself? That's what YouTube people say instead of committing suicide. I found out they say unalived. Did you know that?
I've heard that. Yeah,
I don't know why they do that. Anthony Bourdain. He
I think
breaks down
TikTok
this in
has
this
rules
movie.
on that you can't say you can't say death or died or anything. So it kind of carries over into other things, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably it. But he breaks down the whole mortgage security thing that's happening in 2008. But basically, it's shell games being played by banks, investment firms, moving money around, shuffling things, hiding things, playing games, repackaging things, and using that to get themselves rich while adding nothing to the economy, while adding nothing to benefit people's lives, just pocketing money so they can go out and party or buy nice houses or whatever the hell it is that they do. Meanwhile, they have they're able to lend mortgage or however you get mortgages to a person where they have a house that they can't afford, and the bank ends up taking it after a few years, and it should have never been lent in the first place, right? That's what caused the 2008 financial crisis. And if we had a way of looking at the economy that was more realistic and actually matched the lives of people versus a fucking spreadsheet where money can be moved around and games can be played, might be better off. That's kind of her argument, poorly said by me, in a nutshell. But I thought there was a lot to it because my instincts are to no classical model, like that's the only way to do it. Adam Smith, da 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 da. But
So I didn't use AI. I just kind of thought through it, and there's stats that I wanted to share. And
oh please,
you ready for me to? Okay, so
yeah, I love stats.
so one of the things, it's kind of uh, uh, no, I don't know what the word is, but it's common in politics for a politician not to know what the price of milk is. So I
Yeah.
thought that's the first thing I would really want to see. So you can see a inflation rate of from 2018 to 2024 with a big jump in 2022, and you'll see that's kind of recurring on this these couple of screenshots I got. But
Oh yeah.
definitely a larger price jump there to the 398. So this one's buying power. That's since 1997. You could see that the actual value of the $5 was $5 at this point. There's been inflationary rates up and down throughout. But
Yeah.
if we go directly to the next slide, and we have the buying power that is now. So 878 is equivalent to the $5 mark in 1997. So I think that's huge.
Oh yeah. It's enormous, and it's more enormous the less money you make.
So we've had a 3.4% increase in inflation of housing costs for the last year, which is insane. Um,
Oh yeah.
if you've tried to buy a house lately, but it's not a pleasant
Yeah.
experience with the way it is. The
I'm
next
afraid
one,
to go through the experience.
yeah, this one kind of shows housing inflation since 1967. So if you can see, we 1980, that's when Reagan came in, and so we
Hmm.
had a drop off going there. So that inflationary rate throughout the entire 1970s, um, and at its peak during Carter, we definitely had some bumps. Going through into 2020, 2022, that's the third line from the right. Is our highest peak in this decade, but definitely something that we had a spike on. So it's interesting. And this one is actually a house that's for sale in my town. So you can see in
Okay.
2012 he bought it for $180,000.
Mm.
April of this year he listed it for sale at $725,000. Now this
Jeez.
house still hasn't been sold, and I've removed anything that's identifiable about this house. And I kind of laughed when I saw it at 725. You got to be kidding me! But a real estate agent had to take this person seriously and not talk him down. Now it is
Mm.
on 5 acres, but it's a 4 bedroom, 3 bath ranch. That's you get they're all over the place. There's hundreds of these.
Yeah.
I don't think the acreage is worth that much, but you can definitely see a huge price increase. Huge.
Oh yeah.
So it still hasn't sold. They have
They could
removed.
sell it for $500,000 and it would still be an enormous price increase.
Absolutely, absolutely. They took the listing down in September. I laughed at that because I was, still surprised at 600K. But there's, definitely
Do you know this person?
no. But I drive by it all the time. I
I,
saw.
I, I just think it's hilarious. I like the idea of maybe you like barely know this person. You just keep going over their house and giving them shit with these graphs. Like, dumbass. No, no,
Yeah,
no. You're not going to get this much for this house.
right, right.
Stupid motherfucker. But no,
So
man, these are great graphs. I love
there's
that one.
a good possibility that I do know this person. I don't know them directly. So
Got it.
yeah, so 600K removed. They probably could sell it for 450, 500. It would probably sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting little facet. Last one wanted to tackle uh, current homelessness rates.
Ooh. All right.
And
This is hard for me to see, so you might have to
okay, so let's just
spell it out.
Vermont is up 30% in homelessness. See the longest pink line? 30%.
Yes.
California up 13.6. Ohio, where I'm
Go
from, is up
California.
0.9. But this
Hmm.
is current statistics based upon I guess they're based upon surveys. But so that's it for my screen share. The other things I was looking at, there's consumer confidence is tracked as well. There's a consumer confidence index that shows a lot of sentiment of what the
Hmm.
consumers feel as far as buying power is concerned, and it's been up and down a lot. Do a macro, a micro, a finance bro kind of thing, but there's emotion tied to it. There
Hmm.
always will be, and it's what how a consumer feels when they go to purchase that sweatshirt at Kohl's. Is that thing really worth $85? That kind of thing.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah,
so
that's interesting too. Does a regular person feel that what they're buying is worth the money?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a stat to check out too. Josh, have you heard of Larry Summers? So he's a famous economist. I looked into him, watched an interview with him, actually a talk that he gave at Dartmouth that I thought was super interesting. I actually heard of the guy. So I'm like, when Claude had his name, oh, I heard of this motherfucker. And you think the reason why is he was a Secretary of the Treasury under Bill Clinton, your favorite president. He was also the former president of Harvard, like the whole ass motherfucking school, the president of Harvard. He was the director of the National Economic Council under Obama and the former chief economist at the World Bank. This guy. Everyone should watch this guy talk about modern economics. He was super interesting. And Josh, you'll love this. He's pretty damn anti-socialist, like pretty damn hardcore anti-socialist. And it was pretty funny him shit talking socialism in front of a bunch of Dartmouth students. I really enjoyed that. I'll put the link to that
Yeah,
below here.
in our video. Yeah.
He had kind of a little bit of sass mouth on him though when talking about like that, not necessarily the average person, but populism as a whole, right? So he doesn't like the fact that someone like Trump is going to say tariffs, 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 and someone untrained in how economics works would think, oh, tariffs, that's great. It's going to keep goods from coming in here, so we're going to get jobs and make more money. When in reality, it's more complicated than that. They're gonna up the price that's going to be passed on to the consumer, but that's not even true in every case because it's just so complicated. Every company's different. It's endlessly complicated. But if you're just saying tariffs, jobs, more money, and oversimplifying that, a populist person or someone who might even just be fucking desperate, right? They just need to hear something positive is going to jump on that. And his argument is it does not help the economy at all if people think things like that. He brought up, so there's Doge. He didn't say this specifically in the interview, but I'm like thinking, oh, he's talking about Doge,
Are
right?
you talking about Doge as in government efficiency, or are you talking about Doge
Department of Government Efficiency.
coin?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I keep forgetting there was a previous Doge coin which had that hilarious picture of the Doge dog on it. I
Shiba
remember.
Inu.
It's a Shiba Inu, yes, Japanese police dog, Shiba Inu.
I got into it a little bit. It's been tanking lately.
You bought Dogecoin?
Yeah,
Really? You
yeah,
still have it?
yeah.
Okay, but more power to you. I
I
didn't know you
dabble
bought.
in crypto a little bit.
Okay, and you obviously picked the best. Man,
I,
who knows, man? I could be you'd be laughing all the way to the bank and send me a fucking text being like, "I just made $500,000 from Dogecoin," because that's how weird that market is to me
it is
in
very
crypto.
weird. I bought it at 16 cents, and it went up to 47 cents at one point. And if you got a
That's a
thousand
win.
shares of it, yeah.
That's a win, man. Okay, I stand corrected. I now feel like a goddamn idiot.
Okay.
So
Side-
so I didn't know this. Government spending money on debt interest is about 25 to 30% of government spending. All government payroll spending is about 15%. of total government spending, right? So even if we just fired everybody, we really wouldn't be able to get rid of this debt spending. I thought, okay, interesting point. He makes some interesting points there, but this is my philosophical part of my brain's turn, and it's like maybe it's a good idea just to set a precedence. The U.S. government should be like, maybe we shouldn't spend more money than we can, and maybe we should just dial it back to set a precedence and maybe set an example for everybody in America. Maybe just dial it back a bit. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Absolutely, I agree. But I also think it has to do with a little bit of the bloatware that is the U.S. government. Have
I'm
you
sure it has a lot to do with it.
have you seen the bill that they're doing for a continuing resolution? That's a budget. Like 2 days.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen any details.
It's like 1,100 pages for a continuing resolution, and they're adding stuff in. It's the pork barrel spending that they're doing, and maple syrup study in Vermont for that doesn't have anything to do with it at all. But it's the trying to keep the government open and trying
Of
to keep the
course.
constituents happy and trying to keep people in office. That's pretty much what it has to do with.
Yeah. Oh, and it's been that way for forever. Sure. There's the amount of bloat. That's if anything good comes out. I think I said this before. Out of Doge, if we can just see some of the bullshit, even if it does nothing, and Trump's like, okay, I see this report. I'm not going to change a thing. At least if the rest of us can see it, you know.
Yeah, there's going to be some transparency that we haven't had in the past. I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah, agreed 100% there. But Larry Summers was a very interesting guy. I think the last thing I'll say is what he said. Mark Andreessen said to him. He was the internet pioneer, Netscape navigator guy from the '90s that I'm sure you had on your dial-up modem. Oh yeah, I can picture the fucking screen right now. So Mark Andreessen told him, "We're heading towards a world where you can buy a big flat screen TV for $100, but your college degree will cost you $1 million." I think, okay, in a nutshell, that's the nightmare. That's what I see. Money not being spent intelligently, and like you said, bloatware. It's and it's people just kind of wanting to keep their jobs. And I'll look this up and put it below. But there's whatever the theory is called that if you look at the human population, 20% of us are saints, 20% of us are sinners, and 60% of us are moralists who just kind of go with the flow, right? So most of us are moral. A moralist would just be someone trying to keep their job, and if they got a chill job working at the post office or something where they don't work too hard, I do not blame them at all whatsoever for wanting to keep it. But hey, it might be in the best interest where some of those people shouldn't have the jobs too. Sucks. The world's not fair. But also, I'm not hating the player at all. I'm hating the game. And then, anyways, that's what I think about this. When I just dipped my little finger in this subject, but I'm going to learn more about it. I want to watch more of Larry Summers, Tyler Cohen. He's a famous economist who's got a really entertaining podcast. He's just a super entertaining guy. Really awesome way of asking questions. They're very pointed and direct, and then he just lets someone answer, moves right on to something else. Usually, most of the time, it's just a very entertaining way to watch. But there's a lot of actually entertaining, cool economists out there, and I look forward to looking at the subject more. Anything else?
No, looking forward to some links, and let's keep the curiosity flowing.
Let's keep it flowing. Let's keep it flowing. All right, man. Good talk.
Good
Cheers.
talk. See ya.